Joining us now for global business updates is Rotus Odiri. Rotus.
Good morning,
Good
Dr.
morning.
Good morning,
Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning,
Morning,
Dubai.
Rotus.
We're beginning with Asia. Mixed bag in Asian trading today for a hump of the week. Shanghai Composite Index is down. Hong Kong is upward. Look at Japan. Look at the Nikkei now past 50,000 points. The SoftBank up 8% today. You had some other, Japanese companies that are affiliated with chip designs climbing as well. Pretty much tracking US stocks yesterday. Your Kospi in Korea is down. The Nifty down. Australia, we're going to be talking about Australia's GDP in a moment. So note that the ASX 200 in Australia is up on their latest GDP figures. But a lot of news coming from Asia today. Emmanuel Macron is in China for the next couple days, I think until the end of the week. He's going to be meeting with President Xi Jinping. There's a lot on the menu, particularly trade deals between China and the EU, particularly China and France. There's also going to be talking about Chinese competition, the fact that China's vehicles, and I have an excuse to show my graph again, which I love so much. We'll get to that in a moment. Chinese competition, for those that missed that segment. China, of course, flooding the European markets with their vehicles. Also, Shein, Temu, those e-commerce businesses, also lots of that, the whole diminished thing, flooding the markets. Then now, because the EU and rather France supported tariffs on Chinese vehicles going into the EU, China retaliated and said they'll start probing exports of cognac and other beverages. Of course, as you know, France is a leader in terms of in wine and cognacs and so on and so forth. So that, and then pork, I think milk and some other things. And then, of course, the Russia-Ukraine peace discussion. So all of that is going to be on the menu today and much throughout the rest of the week when Macron... Hey, here's my chart. So you will notice that there's a yellow line here. For those that didn't miss it, this is looking at an animated chart looking at exports of vehicles from 2014 to 2024. Look at China in red here. This is Germany. So that's why the EU is part of this committee. You will now see China from 2021. Watch this. Rocket up past the US, past Germany, past Japan to be the #1 exporter of vehicles. So this is the reason why you've got threat of EU wanting to tariff Chinese vehicles because they've just taken over the market. Look at Germany falling to 3rd place there as of the end of 2024. We go to Australia. Good day. Australia's GDP coming in at 0.4% in the 3rd quarter, quarter on quarter. Annual growth at 2.1. Why am I bringing this up? It just came out. This is part of why the ASX is up. Although it missed estimates. I think analysts are looking for 0.7% growth quarter on quarter, and I think 2.2 or 2.3 year on year. But a point I want to make about Australia is that this is a $1.7 trillion economy. I think it's about 27, 28 million people. It comes out about 62, 63, maybe up to 65,000 per capita GDP, so very wealthy. Mining, they've got the biggest mining companies that are in there. Australia is the #1 exporter of iron ore. They've also got lithium, which is really important for electric vehicles. Energy. Australia is the top 3 LNG exporter along with Qatar and the United States. Tourism, Sydney, New South Wales. I love wildlife documentaries and watch them a lot. Australia has some of the most dangerous animals on the planet, from man-eating saltwater crocodiles to some of the most poisonous snakes. Tourism is part of the economy, and education. We are on the Global Business Report. We had a Nigerian who has lived there for about 12 years, and she helps to get students from Nigeria to go there. But another point I want to make up is that so almost 70% of the Australian economy is services. But here's the thing, and for those who missed yesterday's segment where we talked about the Nigerian economy, we brought this up when we were looking at Q3 GDP. Look at this, 53% of Nigeria's economy is services. However, the big difference between Australia and Nigeria is that much of Australia's 70% of its services economy is formal. So the government is able to get taxes. These businesses are formally recognized. They're also able to export some of these services, like their education. And I brought this up yesterday. If you missed it, we had the lead economist from Meristem Research that talked about the impact of having a large informal sector being part of your services economy. Felicia Awolokwe, let's take a look at this. Listen to this clip.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, looking at the kind of subsectors that we have under the services sector. We have sectors like trade, which is largely informal.
Yeah.
We have construction, we have retail, real estate, we have education. A bulk of the activities in the services sector is largely informal. And what it means is that we might be underperforming our potential because in an informal setting, there are less structure put in place. There's less asymmetry of information, which means that some people might have access to information while some don't. Even access to credit, it just means that the fact that it is informal, the informal nature of that sector of these activities would not, help productivity. Productivity might not be up to potential.
All right, moving on from there, we go to the United States. President Trump again dropping another major hint that Kevin Hassett is going to be the next Federal Reserve Chair. He was talking, this is a very short clip. He was in the White House. All of a sudden he says, I believe the next chair of the Federal Reserve is here. He says, oh, he could be here. And then he says, thank you, Kevin. Yeah, here's the clip.
And I guess a potential Fed chair is here too. I don't know. Are we allowed to say that? Potential. He's a respected person, that I can tell you. Thank you, Kevin.
All right, South Africa also releasing Q3 GDP. We've got Yvonne Mango on the show later today to talk about that. So South Africa's Q3 GDP coming in at 0.5%. South Africa now has had 4 consecutive quarters of growth, although 0.5 this quarter, it was 0.8 in the second quarter. They upgraded it to 0.9, then 0.1 in the first quarter. So it's been it's pretty gradual. 32% unemployment, still pretty high. Anyway, people are buying cars in South Africa. South Africa, while we're playing a clip, Vimbai was just talking to me about being industrialized. This is the most industrialized nation on the African continent, and they have a healthy automobile sector. So for the month of November, new vehicle sales, not Tokumbo, brand new car sales coming in at 54,896, 12.5%. They have actually talked about, inflation decelerating, the rand staying strong against the US dollar. Also, you've had the Reserve Bank of South Africa cutting rates. They've reduced their interest rates band from 3 to 6 to now 3%. So the automobile sector, they are, pretty happy. In fact, I think 11 months, if you go January all the way through to November, measuring that for 2025 versus the first 11 months of 2024, this figure is actually 15% higher. So vehicle sales copying up a little. And I think we'll round off with Nigeria. NGX rebounding yesterday. It started December off on a negative note, but yesterday, again, this is pretty volatile. Remember, the last week of November, it was up, down, up, down, up, down. So we'll see how this week pans out. But 120 basis point climb for Nigerian stocks yesterday. Our share index at 144,928. We're now at 40.8% year to date so far. So that's our update today.
Thank you very much, Rotus. I thought you were going to move straight on to tell us how the automotive industry is doing in Nigeria.
Dr. Abati, we have a way to go.
Celebrating South Africa. We used to do well too with vehicle manufacturing and vehicle sales. Where did we lose it? Anyway.
Good point.
Thank you very much.